gave us the value back to the business quickly, and so that's why it was cheaper for us. But it's not always going to be cheaper. But there may be other values, there may be other benefits and value that you can get out of it that doesn't necessarily mean a cost saving now, but it might mean a cost saving over the longer term. And as I said before, the external provider knows what they're doing. You know, we didn't have to get up to speed. We didn't have to understand the intricacies of the solution. We just needed to understand what we wanted to implement and how we wanted to implement it in the business. So, what challenges did we face and how did we overcome them? Well, cultural issues, covered this before. We had the project director for the project was actually the head of primary servicing, which is one of the main business units in the organisation. And she had absolutely no idea of what a hosted solution meant. She had no idea of any of the issues to do with it. And she's now a better person as a result of having gone through that process, frankly. But through that process, we changed her perception of what technology can deliver, because before we delivered this solution, technology for her was IT, it was a desktop, and it was computers that broke down. And we delivered a solution quickly with the business requirements that they wanted, with all the functionality they required in a very short space of time, and that got over the cultural barrier of IT as a whole, but also all the misconceptions around data and security that she had initially. Data integration challenges. So there were a few challenges here. How do we integrate our business data with a technology that's out in the cloud? Microsoft CRM specifically makes that process a bit easy for us because there are a whole bunch of third-party tools that allows you to synchronize data with it, and you can use Microsoft CRM itself to connect into your web services if you wish to do things that way. We decided to do things the other way. We decided to push data out to the hosted solution. So what we ended up with was our internal business systems, our legacy systems, pushing data out, loan data and other contact data out to the cloud, to our hosted solution on a synchronized basis. And then those flows of data back into the organization were through the CRM interfaces in Outlook. So those systems integrations worked for us very well, particularly because the CRM product that we chose was very good at doing that. And that may not always be the case in other products that you choose. You need to be aware of that before you get into it. Data flows. There are lots of different types of data flows in our organization, and we had to rationalize those in order to look at how we could then synchronize that data out to the cloud. Data backups. Well, you know, we do our own backups internally, but then how do you deal with backups in the cloud? Well, that's part of your hosted agreement, and our partners helped us with that. This is the big one. Cross-border data risks and regulatory risks. We faced a bit of an issue with this one initially. We looked at it and said, actually, because we've got an office in Germany and we have German contact data, and the German sort of data information policy or data protection policy is very, very rigid. They say things like, you can't store German contact data outside of Germany. And that's a real problem, because if we have a CRM solution hosted in the cloud, it could be anywhere, not necessarily in Germany and not necessarily in the UK. So how do we deal with that? Well, we looked at this issue and we realized that the law is an ass, firstly. It doesn't keep up with technology, unfortunately. But actually, you don't need to deal with it at a technology level. You deal with it at a business process level. And this is one of those key things where people say, oh yeah, we can find a technology solution. What we need to do, we need to put a data center in Germany and a data center in London, and what we do is we synchronize them between each other. And the people in London can't get access to the German data, and the German data can't get access to the London data. And you just end up with this mess, this spaghetti. And if you just step back a second, look at it carefully, and say, well, actually, what does the regulation say, and how do we deal with it? Well, the regulation says that you can't store people's data unless they know about it and have agreed. And well, they don't know about it. They have to know that you're going to do this. And so very simply, on our email signatures and on our website, on our privacy policies everywhere, we've put statements saying, any data you give us, may not be hosted in the country of which you're in at the moment. And that dealt with it. That one line dealt with it for us. And our compliance guys looked at it, and they spent a lot of time looking at it, and they realized that actually that one line helped us and just got rid of that issue completely. Now, that may not always be the case in all other types of data, but for the types of data we're looking at and we have, it worked. And then, as with any project, you have your technical feasibility problems. You know, how do you roll out to all these desktops? How do you roll out to all these users? How do you train them? How do you make sure the technology works? How do you make sure the data's getting up to the right places and keeping up to date? How do you ensure the system continues to be updated and users take ownership of it? How do you deal with the intuitiveness of, or not of the system? All of those kind of training issues, and then the scope creep, because as soon as the user sees it, great, can we also have? So all the same kind of project issues. And the way we dealt with that was the normal project management processes, you know, the standard stuff. You define your scope, you go through your process, you ensure that you test appropriately, you take the users with you, you make sure every stage that you're doing things and you're communicating through that process. And as you do that, and as you do that with the users and with the project directors and with the management team, you find that everyone just gets on board and they understand. And that scope creep, that's the big one, but you have to push that. And as with every project, you can let a few things in and push back everything else. So what's next for us? Where do we go next? So we've got this solution, it's running in the cloud, we're very happy with it. The users are very happy, it's improved the business processes. We've had lots of improvements in efficiency. We've had a lot more improvements in the auditing and the trackability of information. The communications are being handled. Everything's great. We're looking at extending now the information. So we're doing migration of more internal data and synchronization of more internal data out to the cloud so that we can provide that information back through the CRM in a connected fashion. So using that CRM technology to sort of as a portal into our business data in a connected way. We're looking at it to implement the business workflows within the CRM solution. So looking at how we can say, well, if this type of activity kicks off, how does that then kick off other things? And what tasks need to be done and who needs to do those tasks? So those workflows are now all going into the system over the next few months. This is one for the future, integration with SharePoint. So we already have SharePoint internally. We may decide to put that outside in the cloud. And SharePoint for document collaboration and document management is very important. At the moment, all our documentation sits on network drives. Not the easiest thing to find all of the time. So we're looking at our taxonomy, looking at the data connectivity between that and the CRM. So just more heavily coupling all our data together so we end up with a much better integrated solution. Enterprise content search. Again, we don't know whether we want this in the cloud or whether we want this internally. But we know we need an enterprise level search. But that's when all our data is connected up. So that's, again, another area that for the cloud that's important for us. So these are where we think it's going for us, for Hatfield Phillips. Where is it going in the industry? That's the big question. I don't really know the answer to that. What I can give you, hopefully, is some insight and some top tips to what we've learned through this project. The first one is communication and collaboration. For us, the core of getting this project right and getting it successfully delivered was communication and collaboration. Understanding the culture of the company was very important because, as with every project, you have to deal with those cultural misconceptions, and especially with the cloud, you have to get in and get dealing with those and get your hands dirty and actually pull the guts out of it and make sure that your users understand that this isn't an issue when they start screaming from the rafters, oh, it's unsecure. Sell the vision early. Even if you're not going to go into the cloud in a big way, even if it's in a small way, get the buy-in early, get the people talking about it, get the issues on the table early, because you can understand then what the cultural objections are going to be, where the problems are going to be, how you're going to overcome them, and you may actually end up with some issues that you hadn't even thought of when you started the process. So if you just, and you don't even have to do it in groups, go and talk to an individual, go and sit at their desk, see how they work, talk to them and work out where the problems are, because if you can solve those problems, you've brought them automatically with you. Understand your business data. From an integration point of view, from a compliance point of view, you should understand where you're going with your data, what it's about, and which bits you need to secure. You don't necessarily need to secure all of it. You may not want to put all of it in the cloud. We decided to put a small subset in the cloud. So you need to make that decision fairly early on, work out where it is you want to go with it. But the core to that is understanding where your business data is, what it is, and how you want to deal with it. Stay focused on what's required. It's very, very easy to get caught up in new things. Oh, look, that thing's flashing over there. Let's go and have a look at that. Or like, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Up. There's a dog in there that can talk, and he turns around and goes, squirrel, every 5 seconds. Don't get distracted. Stay focused. It's really important, especially with a technology that's not new, but new in concept to users. They don't really understand what the cloud is all about, so you have to take them along with you. So if you stay focused, you can guide them through that process more effectively. Supplier due diligence. When you're selecting your supplier, do your due diligence. It's a simple thing to say, but a lot of people don't do it. Are they up to the task? What does their SLA say? What do their existing customers say? What's your existing experience of them, if any? How are they allaying any concerns that you have? How experienced are they? What are the security issues? Do they understand the security issues? Can they help you with the security issues? There's a lot of help there in the supplier area. They have a lot of expertise, and you can feed off it. Don't just jump on the bandwagon. Understand what it is you want to do and do it, but it has to make sense for your business. This is nothing new. This is pure project process. We have to keep our feet on the floor, on the ground. Yeah, we might be looking at the sky, we might be looking at the cloud, but let's stay grounded, because, sorry, all those puns, I'm really sorry. Head in the clouds, silver lining, I'm really sorry about that. But really, this one's about just keep a focus on what you have to do. Don't just jump in with both feet. Understand what it is you want to achieve out of it. Understand where the value is in you doing it, either short, medium, or long term, or all three, and do it in a structured way, as you would with any other project. This is no different. And ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask about what you don't know about. As leaders in our industries, I hope, all of you, not me, we kind of know what we want to do. We kind of know how we want to go about things, what we want to do, how we want to go about it, and what we want to achieve. But there are lots of things we don't know. So just understand what you don't know and talk to people. This forum is great for that. It allows that collaboration to happen. It allows the lessons to be learned. It allows the interaction between suppliers and people who've gone through that process. And just keep asking the questions and don't be afraid. On that note, that's all I really have to say. So ask any questions, really.
What surprises came out of this that you weren't expecting, both negative and positive?
On the positive side, I was very, very surprised that as soon as we started this project, they tried to make me the project director, and I said, absolutely no way, there's no way I'm going to be the project director. It has to be a business user. It has to be somebody in the business who has to take ownership of it. And reluctantly, someone did put their hand up and took hold of it. It was the primary servicing director. And what really surprised me was the ownership of that project from that point onwards. She really felt part of it. And for me, that was really positive, and that was one of the great things. In terms of the cloud side of things, was the speed. I wasn't expecting to be up and running so quickly, and we were, partly due to the project director having a very clear vision of what she wanted and where the value was that she wanted to get out of it, and partly because we had very good supply